Okay, so as I'm sure you all saw by now, Patrick Williams was not in the lineup tonight against the Bucks. Of course, this coming after the Bulls have listed him as probable against the Detroit Pistons, to then questionable going into tonight's game, to then getting scratched from the lineup as he would stay back in Chicago for some imaging on his foot. Yes, the foot that has been bothering him since last season. And I tweeted after we learned of this because most reports indicated, well, the Bulls don't view this as anything serious, as it's being done more as a precaution. The dreaded words coming from the Bulls medical staff, and we're just doing this as a precaution. He'll probably be back for the next game. And so I tweeted in before we hear the medical staff suddenly change course and say that he'll be out 6 to 8 weeks. And while we didn't get that timeline specifically, we did hear from Billy Donovan pregame that he's actually going to be out for at least a week, if not more, due to some inflammation in that foot. Wonderful. Just what you want to hear, especially from one of your few good defenders that you have left on this team. But anyway, we can talk about the Patrick Williams injury topic a different day. The reason I bring it up is because you knew that without Patrick Williams and the Bulls being even more depleted in the front court, and especially going up against one of the most explosive players in the game in Giannis Antetokounmpo, that it was probably going to be a long night. And what I will say is that the last 4 minutes or so, yes, were terrible as the Bulls let the Bucks go on an 18-4 run to finish off the game, a game that was very much in reach until that time. Considering the circumstances, the Bulls not having Patrick Williams, of course still without Lonzo Ball, and starting Torrey Craig, more thoughts on that in a little bit, but the Bulls actually played decent. I'm not going to say it was a great game because there were some very bad stretches, but they held their own on the road in Milwaukee while being shorthanded. Defense was still trash, but I mean, whatever, you almost kind of expect that at this point, especially with no Patrick Williams. They fouled way too much to give the Bucks easy points at the line, which was a huge factor in this game. Bulls didn't get to the free throw line once in the entire second half. But the Bulls shot the ball well, yet again from 3, this time going 17 for 45. They're continuing to let it fly from deep. They maintained their pace of play. They actually fought for loose balls. And even though for a period when it looked like this game was going to get out of hand, the Bucks went up by 20 points, the Bulls came right back and cut the lead to 1. And as I mentioned, they really kept this game close and within reach until the final 3 minutes or so. Zach Lavine played very well, picking up where he left off in Detroit, putting up 27 points on 9 for 15 shooting, 4 for 7 from deep, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Torrey Craig, which I'm annoyed he got as much playing time as he did for reasons I'll explain, but his first start for a man who's barely played all season comes in and actually has a very solid game. 15 points, 6 for 10, hits 3 threes, 6 rebounds, a steal and a block. Good for Torrey Craig, happy for him. What I just don't get is, in a game where Patrick Williams doesn't play, which is going to be the case for the next 2 games, by the way, how is it that Matas Buzelis only saw 6 minutes on the court, 2 of those being in garbage time? How is it that Julian Phillips only got 14 minutes? I mean, in a year that is supposed to be focused on development, a youth movement as everyone likes to call it, why aren't these guys getting more minutes when one of your starters is out? I'm not saying they need to be playing 25 plus minutes in this game, but this is a game that is a perfect opportunity for either of these guys to get some real NBA learning experience in a game that is probably going to be a loss anyway, which it ultimately ended up becoming a loss. And look, this is coming from someone who isn't about that tanking life. I would rather the Bulls do well, focus on developing their talent, even if it means winning more games than Bulls fans want to see. But to me, this all but confirms, hey, we're still looking to win no matter what, even if it means not prioritizing our youth. There should be no scenario in which Matas Buzelis only plays 4 minutes in a game like this if you're serious about his development. I'm sorry. I know he's not quite ready. I get that Giannis probably would have ate him alive out there, but that's how these guys get better. It's not like the Bulls are going to be trying to compete for anything this year. You're not trying to make a playoff run. It's not like before where the Bulls actually were in win now and just kept Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips out of the rotation. The guys need to play if you want them to get better. And to me, this would have been a perfect learning experience for Matas Buzelis. I'm not as mad about Julian Phillips because he got decent minutes, played okay, but you can't have your number 11 overall pick sitting on the bench for most of this game. It's not like the other guys were able to stop Giannis anyway. Vooch was horrible on him tonight in the paint. Vooch did not have a great game, which was unfortunate considering the way he has been playing and has been helping out his trade value tremendously. Hopefully one game won't impact it too much, but yeah, I mean, Vooch didn't shoot the ball well, was getting outworked on the glass, and just wasn't as much of a factor. Dalen Terry actually loved his minutes tonight, and he played very well and was very strong and feisty on defense, brought a lot of energy. Need to see more of that, especially when the Bulls are shorthanded. And then Coby White, not the best game for him either, didn't shoot the ball particularly well, Didn't get to the foul line at all this game. Still managed to get 14 points, but on 15 shots. Not the best efficiency. And then Josh Giddey. Look, I know everyone is kind of going in on Josh Giddey right now, myself included in the last couple of post-game videos. Everyone is talking about the on-off numbers and how much of a liability he's been on defense. For me, actually, what's been more concerning from what I've seen from Giddey as of late is his level of engagement and demeanor. He just does not look confident at all out there right now. And he has been hanging his head low when he's not playing well. The energy level that he had a bit to start this season is no longer there. And it does seem like he's questioning himself, being more passive and hesitant, even with some of his passing sometimes. Like, I am worried about the mental side of the game for Josh Giddey, as we know how much it impacted him last year. Yes, the numbers are concerning, although I don't always like the, hey, look at his on-off numbers, his net rating when he's on the court. Yeah, they're bad. Yes, it's a trend that should be discussed, but at the end of the day, basketball is a team sport. If your team overall is not playing well or just isn't very good, your numbers, your net rating, box plus minus, all that stuff isn't going to be great in general. It's a product of your teammates and who's on the court when you're out there. Still a problem, but to me the bigger problem is just how disengaged Giddey has looked the past few games, and even at times looks lost on offense and struggling to see where he fits in. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's still early. It's still a relatively small sample size, and hopefully Giddey can shake off this little funk that he's in right now and have a game where he goes off to get his confidence back up, because right now, yeah, it's not looking so good for a guy that is supposed to be one of your foundational pieces. Anyway, Bulls lose. They fall to 6-10. They're off tomorrow before they have their first NBA Cup game at home against the Atlanta Hawks on Friday. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.